What are the chances of surviving in a plane crash? Being in that situation is the worst nightmare one can be in. These situations mostly occur because of human error, mechanical or electrical error, and are even caused through terrorist attacks. We have selected 5 worst plane crashes in history for you today. Even though after watching this video you might think twice before booking your next flight, keep in mind that flying is still the safest means of transportation. Number 5, Air India Flight 182. On the 23rd of June 1985, the Boeing 747-237B serving the flight was destroyed by a bomb at an altitude of 31,000 feet, 9,400 meters. It crashed into the Atlantic Ocean while in Irish airspace. It was the first bombing of a 747 jumbo jet. A total of 329 people were killed, including 268 Canadian citizens, 27 Britons and 24 Indians. The majority of the victims were Canadian citizens of Indian ancestry. The incident was the largest mass murder in Canadian history. It was the deadliest terrorist attack involving an aeroplane until the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks. Canadian law enforcement determined that the main suspects in the bombing were members of the Sikh militant group Babar Khalsa. One passenger had checked in as Mr. M. Singh. Mr. M. Singh did not board the flight. However, his suitcase containing the bomb was loaded onto the plane. Mr. Singh was never identified and captured. The attack is thought to have been a retaliation against India for the operation carried out by the Indian Army Operation Blue Star to flush out several hundred Sikh militants who were within the premises of the Golden Temple and the surrounding structures ordered by the Indian government, headed by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Though a handful of members were arrested and tried, Inderjit Singh Riat, a Canadian national, remains the only person convicted of involvement in the bombing. Singh pleaded guilty in 2003 to manslaughter. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison for building the bombs that exploded aboard Flight 182 and at Narita. Number 4. Turkish Airlines Flight 981. Turkish Airlines Flight 981 was a regularly scheduled flight from Istanbul Yazilköy Airport to London Heathrow Airport with an intermediate stop in Paris at OR Railway Airport. On the 3rd of March 1974, the McDonnell Douglas DC-10 operating the flight crashed into the Hermenville forest outside Paris, killing all 346 people on board. The plane entered a steep dive and crashed. It was the deadliest plane crash of all time until the Tenerife disaster in 1977. It still remains the 4th deadliest plane crash in aviation history, is the deadliest involving a DC-10, the 2nd deadliest with no survivors, and the deadliest to have occurred on French soil. The crash was also known as the Hermenville air disaster, from the forest where the aircraft crashed. The crash was caused when an improperly secured cargo door at the rear of the plane broke off, causing an explosive decompression which severed cables necessary to control the aircraft. Because of a known design flaw left uncorrected before and after the production of DC-10s, the cargo hatches did not latch reliably, and manual procedures were relied upon to ensure they were locked correctly. Problems with the hatches had occurred previously, most notably in an identical incident that happened on American Airlines Flight 96 in 1972. Investigation showed that the handles on the hatches could be improperly forced shut without the latching pins locking in place. It was noted that the pins on the hatch that failed on Flight 981 had been filed down to make it easy to close the door, resulting in the hatch being less resistant to pressure. Also, a support plate for the handle linkage had not been installed, although manufacturer documents showed this work as completed. Finally, the latching had been performed by a baggage handler who did not speak Turkish or English, the only languages provided on a warning notice about the cargo door's design flaws and the methods of compensating for them. Number 3. 1996 Charkhi Dadri mid-air collision. The Charkhi Dadri mid-air collision occurred on the 12th of November 1996 over the village of Charkhi Dadri, to the west of New Delhi, India. The aircraft involved were a Saudi Arabian Airlines Boeing 747-100B en route from Delhi to Dhahran, Saudi Arabia, and a Kazakhstan Airlines Ilyushin IL-76 en route from Chimkent, Kazakhstan, to Delhi. The crash killed all 349 people on board both planes, making it the world's deadliest mid-air collision, the deadliest aviation accident to occur in India, and the third deadliest aircraft accident in the history of aviation, behind only the Tenerife airport disaster and Japan Airlines Flight 123. The collision was mainly the result of the Kazakh pilot flying lower than the assigned clearance altitude. The tail of KZA-1907 cut through SVA-763's left wing and horizontal stabilizer. The crippled Boeing quickly lost control and went into a rapidly descending spiral motion toward the ground with fire trailing from the wing. The Boeing broke up in the air under the stresses before the wreckage hit the ground at almost 705 miles per hour. The Ilyushin remained structurally intact as it went in a steady but fast and uncontrolled descent until it crashed in a field. Rescuers discovered 4 critically injured passengers from the Ilyushin, but they all died soon afterwards. 2 passengers from the Saudi flight survived the crash, still strapped to their seats, only to die of internal injuries soon after. In the end, all 312 people on board of SVA-763 and all 37 people on KZA-1907 were killed. The civil aviation authorities in India made it mandatory for all aircraft flying in and out of India to be equipped with a Traffic Collision Avoidance System, TCAS, setting a worldwide precedent for mandatory use of TCAS. Number 2. Japanese Airlines Flight 123. Japan Airlines Flight 123 was a scheduled domestic Japan Airlines passenger flight from Tokyo's Haneda Airport to Osaka International Airport, Japan. On Monday, August 12, 1985, a Boeing 747SR operating this route suffered an explosive decompression 12 minutes into the flight and, 32 minutes later, crashed into 2 ridges of Mount Takamagahara in Ueno, Gunma Prefecture, 100 kilometers, 62 miles, from Tokyo. The crash site was on Osutaka Ridge. All 15 crew members and 505 of the 509 passengers on board died. The death toll was exacerbated by delays in the rescue operation. The explosive decompression was caused by a faulty repair performed after a tail strike incident during a landing 7 years earlier. A doubler plate on the rear bulkhead of the plane was improperly repaired, compromising the plane's airworthiness. Cabin pressurization continued to expand and contract the improperly repaired bulkhead until the day of the accident, when the faulty repair finally failed, causing the explosive decompression that tripped off a large portion of the tail and caused the loss of hydraulic controls to the entire plane. It is the deadliest single aircraft accident in history, the deadliest aviation accident in Japan, the second deadliest Boeing 747 accident, the second deadliest aviation accident behind the 1977 Tenerife airport disaster. Number 1. Tenerife disaster. The Tenerife airport disaster, which occurred on March 27, 1977, remains the accident with the highest number of airliner passenger fatalities. 583 people died when a KLM Boeing 747 attempted to take off without clearance, and collided with a taxiing Pan Am 747 at Los Rodeos Airport on the Canary island of Tenerife, Spain. There were no survivors from the KLM aircraft. 61 of the 396 passengers and crew on the Pan Am aircraft survived. Pilot error was the primary cause as the KLM captain began his takeoff run, although he did not have ATC clearance. Another cause was dense fog. The KLM flight crew could not see the Pan Am aircraft on the runway until immediately prior to the collision. The accident had a lasting influence on the industry, particularly in the area of communication. An increased emphasis was placed on using standardized phraseology in air traffic control, ATC, communication by both controllers and pilots alike. Furthermore, all members of the cabin crew are now able to question the captain's judgment concerning the safety of the airliner.